Welcome to this Tutor to You Sociology topic video looking at crime, control, prevention and punishment, focusing on surveillance. Surveillance refers to the monitoring of individuals, both by agencies of formal and informal social control. As society has evolved, surveillance has become an increasingly common way of exercising control over individuals. This is usually achieved through collating data on individuals, including the monitoring of their movements, their interactions with others, and even their personal preferences, tastes, and affiliations. This has become much easier with the advent of the digital age, with the use of mobile and internet technologies being able to collate a broad range of data on individuals. As a result, surveillance can be used to control people's behaviour, not only externally, but also through forcing them to change their own behaviours for fear they're being watched. One of the most prominent thinkers associated with the idea of surveillance is French philosopher Michel Foucault. Drawing on a range of influences, including psychoanalysis, Foucault argued that the process of civilization has led to a movement away from sovereign or physical punishment to a form of psychological control over individuals. According to Foucault, this has occurred as society has developed more effective methods of punishing individuals by using psychological rather than physical means. Foucault illustrated this movement by drawing on the Panopticon, a prison designed by Jeremy Bentham. The Panopticon was a circular prison with a central guard tower. All of the cells in the prison faced towards this tower, allowing the guards to see what prisoners were doing in their cells. However, prisoners could not see whether or not the guards were monitoring them, and according to Foucault, this fear of possibly being caught led them to self-regulate their behaviour so they wouldn't be caught. This led to a form of self-discipline, correcting the impulses of the prisoners to behave in ways that were deemed inappropriate. Foucault's ideas of self-discipline in the Panopticon are still relevant today and can be applied to the way in which technology is used as a form of surveillance. The Electronic Panopticon is constructed due to the increased use of electronic and digital technology by individuals in their everyday lives, for fitness, for shopping, for entertainment and communication. Digital devices are capable of collating massive amounts of data about individuals, and this data can be used to monitor our behaviours. In some instances, such as the Cambridge Analytica scandal, it can even be used to alter our opinions. Cambridge Analytica mined Facebook data of millions of people globally and used this data to influence voting patterns in several major elections by bombarding undecided voters with news and opinions which would influence their preferences at the ballot box. It's alleged that this was used in both the 2016 US election and the Brexit referendum in the same year. Surveillance is not just conducted by those with power. Matheson argued that the birth of the digital age has led to a form of bottom-up surveillance, where the many can survey the few. As a consequence of greater availability of public records, individuals are scrutinising the actions of politicians, including their voting records, what they've said in the past, their connections, and most famously, their expenses. A Freedom of Information request on MP expenses in the early part of the 21st century led to a scandal that saw 8 members of Parliament imprisoned for incorrectly claiming expenses, with many others forced to repay their expenses. This is an example of surveillance from below, with the masses observing the behaviour of the elites. Furthermore, people have started to survey others and record the behaviour of other individuals. Crimes such as racist and homophobic abuse are being captured on smartphones and uploaded to the internet. People monitor one another's social media accounts for content that may be inflammatory or cause others offence. Other examples of this surveillance include the use of recording equipment in cars and on bikes, recording the behaviours of other drivers on the road. This is seen as a form of synopticon or synoptic surveillance, where behaviours are not just monitored by those in power, but by those in close proximity to an individual. Everybody is watching each other, and as a consequence, it alters our behaviour. However, the growth of surveillance has become possible due to the development of integrated surveillance techniques. This is where systems communicate with one another to increase the amount of data recorded and capture the movements of individuals. This can include facial recognition software, license plate tagging, and GPS location on mobile devices. This leads to a form of internalized surveillance where people will make adjustments to their behaviors as they know they are being monitored. The role of surveillance in society leads to the development of what sociologists call actuarial justice. With much data that is collected from our phones and laptops being fed to companies that then use the data to target us with adverts that fit in with our profile, data can also be fed into algorithms that look to predict criminal and dissident behaviours. According to Lyon, people can be categorised by the risk that they pose to society based upon the websites they are visiting, their purchases, and their contacts. This form of state monitoring looks to predict whether or not individuals have the potential for committing crime, and obviously has been criticised as deterministic, as well as potentially able to profile people on their ethnicity and their political affiliations. And this has led to accusations of racial stereotyping in the process of actuarial justice, and does not take into account the free will that individuals display. It's a quantitative form of judgment that doesn't reflect the agency that individuals have. Furthermore, it has the potential for labelling individuals as criminals should they be called in for questioning. This form of surveillance also assumes that people's behaviours are the process of rational actions, and that the behaviour an individual shows in one moment is typical of their behaviour as a whole. Others have questioned the effectiveness of methods of surveillance. While CCTV often will capture crimes and lead to successful prosecutions, it doesn't act as an effective deterrent. And finally, surveillance is not immune to the influence of the powerful, with the acts of the powerful often manipulated by the media to protect the wealthy or buried to preserve the status quo in society. That concludes this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on crime control and prevention, looking at surveillance. Thanks for watching.